All right. Hey, welcome everybody. It's 7 o'clock Wednesday night. It's time for Sci-Fi Distilled. Hey, we already got two people already. Hey,
Hi,
Bill
Dennis
and
and
Dennis.
Bill.
How are you?
How goes it?
Nice of you to join us. So we are continuing with our
Martin. Hi,
robot
Martin.
month. And we are doing the 1973, correct? Yes. Westworld.
Hi,
So
Sue.
this is Michael Crichton's directorial
Yes,
debut.
he had for the movies, for the theater. He
Right.
had directed something on TV before, but this was his movie debut.
Right. So, but before we get into that, I know you got news.
I got news. Where did I put the news? I got all kinds of news. So this weekend we changed the clocks. Well, first of all, it's the Ides of
Why
March.
is this still a thing?
It is the whole thing.
I thought we were getting rid of it. Didn't it go to like Congress or
Yeah. They
Senate
were
or
gonna
something?
change that. So, but they didn't. All right, guys. It's the Ides of March today, so I hope you all beware or whatever.
Well, yesterday was Pi Day.
Yesterday was Pi Day. Friday, St. Patrick's Day. This weekend, we changed the clocks. And if you're all dug out from the storm, let's do some news. So after losing an hour of sleep this weekend, I did the sensible thing and stayed up late to watch the Oscars. Yay, Michelle. Yo, yay. Everything, everywhere, all at once. Everything, everywhere, all at once is now the most celebrated sci-fi film in Oscar history. This is causing an online buzz. Historically, Hollywood didn't really reward sci-fi or fantasy as much as they did real world dramas. They were often nominated for visual effects, of course, makeup, costumes, stuff like that, but they rarely won. With the exception of Star Wars at the 1978 Oscars, they won 6. They won art direction, costume, sound, editing, score, and visual effects. And then other standouts over the years are like Drex. Drex got it for Dick Tracy.
Yep, that was for makeup. Yep.
But largely, like for the most part, you never see sci-fi or fantasy in the big top 4, which is like best directing, best actor, best actress, and best picture of the year. Like that, and that has all changed now. It's been changing. It's starting to change in recent years. I know the one with Doug Drexler where he was the swimmy fishy guy. What was that called? They won for that.
The weight of the water? No, something about water.
Yeah, whatever. Doug Drexler, swimmy fish guy, whatever. That one. But that is starting to change. And now with everywhere.
Doug Jones, you mean? Doug, the guy from
Doug
Discovery.
Jones, yeah. What did I say?
Doug Drexler. I was like,
no, Doug Drexler won makeup for Dick Tracy.
For
Doug
Tracy.
Jones, our guy Saru.
One for, I think it's The Shape of Water.
The Shape of Water, yes. Thank you. The Shape of Water. But anyway, what do you guys think? Does sci-fi and fantasy get the recognition and acknowledgement it deserves?
I think up until recently, most of the movies people didn't take seriously. They were either just straight up action films, or they were almost kids movies. Like superhero movies. And
well, sure.
I think they just didn't take them seriously. Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that 2001 must have won more for something, for at least visual effects.
Probably visual effects. Yeah, I bet Doug Trumbull. I'd have to look it up. Somebody who's near a computer, look it up.
What did you're right. They tend to lean towards dramas.
The Encino Man cast did well. Yes, the Encino Man cast. They do lean toward dramas, but I mean, Lord of the Rings kind of got acknowledged. I know over on the television side, Lost won Best Drama one year for one of its seasons. So, it's kind of it's starting to swing, starting to change, and I'm here for it. I appreciate that.
We'll see. I mean, they have to keep making films that are worthy of,
True.
You know what I'm saying? True. It's like you just can't say, well, sci-fi should get more if the movies aren't any good or they're just fluff blockbuster type stuff. Well, they're gonna stay. Yeah. They're gonna stay in that genre of music and effects. And
that is a great point, because I feel like Everything Everywhere All at Once had a really human message, had a great message.
I haven't seen it, so I probably should put it on my list, but
you got to see it. Let's zip through the Oscars. So Best Supporting Actor, Kiwi Kwan, Short Round. All of these winners to me,
and from he was the same kid that was
Goonies.
In Goonies.
And Goonies, yeah. And Best Supporting Actress, Jamie Lee Curtis. Animated is Pinocchio. We don't care about that. Costume design, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. That's well deserved. I know they researched and worked really, really hard on those costumes, so that was absolutely deserved. Best makeup and hairstyling, The Whale. That was putting Brendan Fraser into the fat suit, the prosthetics. But I know it also had digital effects to it as well.
And he won Best Actor.
And he won Best Actor. Best Screenplay was Everything Everywhere. Best Cinematography. Okay, actually, All Quiet on the Western Front got Best Cinematography. I was kind of surprised that Top Gun Maverick was not even nominated after everything we learned when we covered the movie about how they put the cameras. They had to like specially design the cameras and cram them into the planes with the actors, and the actors had to be their own cinematographers. All that work that went into that, not even nominated. I feel like it at least deserved.
Again, this is a movie that, I was surprised it got nominated for Best Picture.
I was too.
Again, this is not the type of movie that generally.
But I'm okay with like Best Effects or Best Cinematography.
Yeah, I mean that's what I would have thought. It might have been effects or something like that. But
they did win Best Sound, which I really was not noticing this. That's the thing. Is like now I'm like,
well, good. That's just it. If the sound is blending in, then it's doing its job.
That's true. I suppose that's true. Best film editing, Everything Everywhere. Best original song, Not Too from RR, and I'm about to talk about that in my next segment. Visual effects, Avatar: Way of Water, of course. Lead actor, Brendan Fraser. Lead actress, Michelle Yeoh. Everything Everywhere got directors, and Everything Everywhere got Best Picture. So with Michelle Yeoh winning that Best Lead Actress trophy, does that sound the death knell for Section 31?
Oh, you think she's going to be too expensive?
She might be a little expensive.
I don't know.
People on the internet are already like the Star Trek world on the internet are already saying, yeah, that's not going to happen. But they're already saying, you know what we want to see?
She's certainly going to want more money unless she's already signed a contract.
She should they'll have her in the opening episode setting it up, and then they'll hand it off to lesser actors. But people are already saying, you know what we want to see? We want to see a Worf and Raffi Section 31 show.
Yeah, not Raffi.
I'm okay, Raffi. I like Raffi.
No, Raffi.
Worf absolutely could.
Worf could pull it off. I mean, Raffi. No, I don't want to see any more Raffi.
I like Raffi. I'm okay.
Don't like. A lot of people don't like her. I don't nothing against the actress. I think the character is not good, but that's just me.
I like her better with Worf. She seems to gel.
Did we even discuss last week that Discovery has got its last season?
Yeah, Discovery has officially been canceled.
Yep.
So we will see.
And of course, the internet is blowing up on both sides. And, the naysayers since season 1 have been saying, see, I told you, but it only took them 5 years.
5 years. That's a good run.
6 years to be right. And then, of course, the other people are like, oh.
Is actually a good run. And looking back on the Pike years, or the Pike year, the 1 year, that was an okay year. I was kind
of the show needs to go. It's awful. Either they needed a complete rework or it needed to go because it was just awful.
It wasn't in keeping with Starfleet.
No, a lot of these shows aren't. Again, I'm coming to the conclusion that Kurtzman just doesn't like Star Trek, and it's his mission in life to just bring it down. I swear to God.
I can't say that that's true, but I am very happy that Terry Matalas is.
I mean, the season 3 Picard has been slowly getting better. Not slowly, but it's been getting better and better with each episode. So, hopefully, by the end, of course, by the end, I'm hearing the last 2 episodes they say it's going to blow your brain. So
that's what they say. Yeah,
that's what people have been saying. People that have seen it. So.
I'll say, all right, moving on with the news.
Moving on.
In international film news, I just mentioned that Natu from RRR won Best Original Song. RRR is this massive, epic, covers a pretty fair amount of time, epic action drama film centering around the fictional versions of real Indian revolutionaries and their fight against British rule. And this movie is noted for its massive action sequences, cinematography, and incredible visual effects, which dial everything up, including the dancing, because there's always dancing, dialed everything up to superhuman levels. Since looking, I was like, well, what the heck is this movie? So I looked at it. I am now very interested in watching this movie. The other international film news is, who else likes science fiction? China. China's sci-fi blockbuster, The Wandering Earth 2 is scoring huge at the box office and drawing attention to the technology behind the movie. Wandering Earth 2 is a prequel or a sequel. I guess it's a sequel to the 2019 blockbuster Wandering Earth. Duh, that makes perfect sense. And tells the story of how humanity is building these enormous engines to move the Earth. It's very like Space 1999. They're going to actually move the Earth to a new solar system because our sun is burning out. This movie is a flashy, state-approved, Chinese government-approved, cornball spectacle about humanity's resilience and hope in the face of annihilation, especially the Chinese. The Chinese have the most resilience and hope, of course. And it's produced with gargantuan budgets that exceed anything we've seen in the United States. What do you guys think? They say the sci-tech props in this movie are real, and it is hard to discern what is real and what is visual effect. Do you guys want us to look at either RRR or Wandering Earth? It's always good to see what's going on around the world in cinema and to see what they are doing with their visual effects. What do you guys think? Should we take a look?
Well, we did
the Japanese movie.
Battleship Yamato.
Yep, we did Yamato. They're not moving the Earth with balloons. They're moving the Earth with... The name of the Chinese movie is The Wandering Earth 2. It's the sequel.
It's kind of like the Boston albums, isn't that the whole thing? They all lift, except it wasn't the whole Earth. The Boston, the rock band.
Yeah, Boston. I know Boston.
You ever see their album covers? That was their whole thing, that the cities were launching into space and going to
I'm going to have to go back and look now.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
They had some great. That's one thing you don't get anymore. I know off topic, but is album
Please
art.
Type it. The Wandering Earth, the Earth that wanders, the Wandering Earth, and the Indian one is R. The letter R. We could do both movies in one show. We don't care about the plots. RR is not even science fiction. I don't know what it is, but what we're interested in is the visual effects.
Well,
what are they doing with the
seeing,
visual effects? They say these things are kick-ass.
Netflix has been pulling a lot of the Korean stuff too, like we saw Squid Games and Silent Sea.
That's true. Things are getting international.
So they're pulling
that German thing.
The German one, yeah. And what I'm finding, it's interesting. I mean, we could have a whole show on this if you guys want, because I think it might merit a discussion.
Because Tales from the
Loop, very different from what we expect and what we're like. I don't know if it's a language barrier thing. That's the way their language is spoken and the way it translates, or it's a way they perceive movies should be, because they all seem to be much slower than what we're used, at least for me. Like, there's like, say something.
Yes.
Or if they do it, it sounds very corny, but I suspect that is because, at least I'm watching Silent Sea. I'm almost done with it. And some of the lines are very corny. And I'm like, I think it's a language thing. It just doesn't translate right from Korean to English.
Maybe.
And I think it just sounds stupid to us, which probably is much more natural and normal and not sounding so corny.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't speak Korean.
Yeah, guys, if you guys want us to do around the world, I can I'll watch RRR and The Wandering Earth. And what you said about being slow is Phil Merkel would agree with you, because I had recommended Tales from the Loop, which is Scandinavian, a Swedish.
Right. That's actually was good, but again,
I loved it. I loved it. He said the first episode put him to sleep. He was like, it was so slow.
It's not an action show.
It's not an action show. It's
kind
a
of a deep thinker, sort of sci-fi. Yeah, but you're right. I can see, again, if you're not into that sort of thing, it's.
But guys, let us know if you want us to just have an international night, and we'll just look at a few things from here, there, and everywhere. Because I really am interested in seeing those two movies I just reported on. Because I hear that what they're doing with visual effects is absolutely mind-blowing. And I want to know, what are they doing that we're not doing? What are they doing that we could steal and apply to our movies?
We've done that. I mean, that certainly has happened. There's definitely been, foreign films and foreign TV shows that we've adapted to the United States because they're popular everywhere else. So we have to make the American version.
But we do that all the time. We've done that.
We do it with British stuff all the time.
With Office, duh.
Yeah, The Office.
We do it to Britain all the time.
Yeah. Top Gear. Although, usually though, like when we did Top Gear, it was terrible. their Top Gear, but their Top Gear was because of
our Top Gear was awful.
It was awful.
But here's the thing.
Like The Office was really good, but so was the British one.
Make an American version. The British version is.
That's the thing. There's no reason anymore. There used to be. I think there was a time. I think when they would do stuff.
In Doctor Who, yeah.
Doctor Who, but we didn't make an American version of Doctor Who. Well, we did technically. We made the film.
We did try to make an American version.
There was a film. There was a film with an American actor. Oh. I believe he was an American. I don't know, but it was an American produced film. Why? The one doctor, one that he was a one-off doctor. So,
all right, let me go back. Let me finish the news.
Red Dwarf might be coming back. Red Dwarf did come back.
Red Dwarf comes and goes, but
he came back. But honestly, after seeing it, it really just needs to not come back anymore.
I love Red Dwarf.
I know, but the last thing they did was just I didn't think it was that great.
Well, I mean, after you even do it, it's like
that's what I'm saying. It's done.
Doctor Who is the only thing. Although Star Trek's been going pretty long time too now. I was gonna
say Doctor Who outlives Star Trek is older than Star Trek. So
did you remember when Shatner?
But there was a gap. So if you count
Iron Chef America, as the dude, right? Yeah. All right, let's finish the news. I'm gonna skip this article. We don't need to. Oh, okay. And the last piece of news tonight before we talk about Westworld from real life. This is news from real life. I had to include it because my little tiny pea brain was blown. Move over, Cocaine Bear. We now have Cocaine Cat. Hamilton County, Ohio dog wardens kept getting calls about people thought was a leopard in a tree. And so they came and captured him. And they figured out it was a cat named Amory that escaped from his owner's car during a traffic stop. The experts suspected that Amory was actually a serval, which is a cat native to sub-Saharan Africa. And, funnily enough, illegal to own in Ohio. To confirm that, the medical team took a DNA sample and also tested him for narcotics. He had tested positive for exposure to cocaine, and they did conclude he was indeed a serval. Now, you're probably asking me, Mary Beth, wait, what?
Yeah,
why did the shelter just randomly decide to test this cat, Amory, for drugs? Well, let me tell you that story. The short answer is a capuchin monkey named Neo. Last year, Animal Control seized a monkey from his Cincinnati home after a veterinarian saw a video of him and believed he ingested Xanax or cocaine or a combination thereof and needed medical care. Neo tested positive for amphetamines, underwent treatment, and is now safely in an undisclosed location. And the owner was indicted on animal cruelty charges, as it should be. Since then, it's become standard protocol for shelters in Ohio to test for narcotics for any animal that's more exotic than the usual household pet. And America, all I got to say is, what is wrong with you?
I guess I'm confused what this has to do with sci-fi stuff.
It doesn't. I said this was from real life. I told you. I said at the top.
Okay, well, random news of the day.
Random news of the day. I had to report this because Cocaine Bear, now we have Cocaine Cat.
The
point is, America, there's something bad wrong with you. There's something bad wrong with you.
People have been getting their pets high for years. That's not new.
I don't understand. My little brain.
I'm not condoning that behavior, mind you. I'm just saying it happens. Oh man. Okay. Well, all right. So before we get too far into Westworld, we do have a drink.
Oh yeah, what's our drink for robots?
This is pretty harsh. Absolute vodka or your vodka of choice, or Jack Daniels, or whiskey of your choice, and some two drops of grenadine. I'm thinking, wow, that's gonna knock you on your ass.
Never mind. Cocaine Cat and Cocaine
That's pretty
Bear.
much straight up alcohol there. So I don't know what it would taste like. Vodka and whiskey. Vodka and whiskey with just a couple of drops of grenadine for color.
Hey, little red.
I don't know.
Chris Roche, the Shadow's waiting for Cocaine Aardvark. Why not?
Cocaine Aardvark. So,
Cocaine Cat.
Good Nyborg, man. Anyway. All right. So 1973 Westworld. This, again, we had talked. This is Michael Crichton's first directorial debut. He also, of course, wrote this. Of course, we're kind of seeing, I got to say, as I'm watching this, I'm thinking this has got to be where Jurassic Park
Yeah,
Drew
this was
from.
like his dry run.
No question. No question. This Jurassic Park was like the redo of Westworld.
Yeah, this was his dry run for Jurassic Park, and then he was like, "Okay, guys, now we're gonna do dinosaurs, and we're gonna fix the following problems."
This movie is very interesting in some ways. It's very 1970s for right out of the gate. So if you watch it, there's some really cringy stuff that is particularly in the beginning when the guy's like giving an ad and he's talking and it's some cringy stuff that's definitely not PC by today's standards. But it's only about an hour and a half. It's like barely 90 minutes, a little over 90 minutes long. So, and literally the first hour, like nothing of significance happens.
Nope.
It's like just them.
They have this long ass brawl. Like the evening's entertainment is this long ass brawl.
And then I never noticed it before. I'm like, literally the whole action sequences when he's being chased by the gunslinger is like the last 25 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
And that was the whole crux of the movie. The whole first half.
So I'm like, but I remember watching this. I didn't see the theater. I was too young, obviously, but I remember seeing this in reruns in the afternoons on Sunday afternoon or whatever. And I remember Yul Brynner, it was kind of scary, as for a kid to watching him because he did a really good job. Now, granted, he's a very
particularly serious continence. He's very
kept his face like so. Yeah. Like it was kind of frightening, and they definitely did something. He had he must have had
he had contacts. They had
contacts to make his eyes look almost silver.
They had those mirrored contacts,
and which also, with the scenes where you see through his eyes, that was the first time they used computer graphics.
Yes, that was the first CGI. I don't know if it's technically. I'm going to call it primitive CGI. I can tell you how they did that. Yeah, this was a great choice to do. I'm glad we did this because this was a really nice bridge between like WALL-E and what we did last week, which was iRobot. This is kind of like that middle ground between like a little box of a robot and a human.
I think they did a great job because the robots really looked like human beings. I mean, they were just amazing.
In this thing, yeah, they were great. So what was the thing with the hands? They didn't need to do that. They could have just said the eyes. Yeah,
I guess they just needed something to differentiate them because they were so human, because they were humans, but so they said they never could get the hands right, which the only thing I thought that was kind of works is because I think most artists will tell you hands are very difficult to draw.
Okay, while that is true,
so that might be a thing that they picked up on, saying that it's really hard to recreate a hand. I think the hand would be one of the easiest.
That's absolutely true. However, are hands really that much harder than say, I don't know, reproductive systems?
Yeah, I agree. They clearly I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that's why they probably did it.
Functional.
Well, you needed something. Parts. You couldn't say, "Drop your pants. Let me see if you're a robot." I mean, needed something.
Here's something. Plus, if it's like a functioning,
I just had this flash from Porky's. Remember? Did you ever see Porky's?
Yeah.
When she's trying to identify. She's like, if I see the penis, I'll identify it. Funny scene.
I was about to make a Stormy Daniels joke, but I won't. Okay. The thing of it is, though, like, please tell me these things got cleaned. Like the sex bots, they got cleaned in between.
Well, they got cleaned. They took them in every night and.
I think they only took in the broken ones. The other ones you see her standing there all night long, and then she gets.
Maybe they train them to
clean themselves,
give themselves a bit of a horse bath. Tops and tails.
Okay, here's the thing: is given that information, is recreation of the future? Is the recreation of the future killing things and sex? Is that it? Is that where we're going? We're going that way.
Clearly, sex is always going to be
or brawling, fighting, robbing.
I'm just saying, it's the world's oldest profession. The porn industry is still a gajillion dollar, $billion industry.
That's absolutely true.
I mean, and it only is getting bigger. No pun intended. All right, little pun.
Phrasing.
And I'm not even drinking. This is water, folks. I swear.
So anyway, Michael Crichton thinks the future recreation is violence and sex. Okay, I guess I'm
pretty much what the whole place was about.
I guess.
Especially, they even described Roman world as a hedonistic environment.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're going to Roman world,
you were jousting
if you're going to Roman world, you're just going
sword fights. And then Roman world, they killed each other horrific ways in Roman world. I wonder if there was like a Colosseum.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, they did mention jousting.
I mean, I'm sure there were spas and like more relaxing things, but just somehow the focus wasn't on that. All right, let's actually talk about this thing. Yeah. So anyway,
it is important to point out that these are robots, that they were very specifically programmed to do certain things and not operate autonomously.
Let's talk about
that's
this.
why I picked this. Is that they look like androids, but they are essentially robots.
They aren't, which brings up a really, really interesting point. There's one line. It's like a blink and you miss it line, delivered by Alan Oppenheimer, where he basically says it's like infectious disease and it's spreading from Roman world or medieval world, wherever it started. It's spreading, which would we know now today as a virus. But they never really make it clear. Let the gunslinger, just for example, did he turn and go rogue because he had this virus or because he had some memory of the fact that this guy keeps killing me? Because he was going specifically for the Richard Benjamin character, whose name I can't remember, because he had already killed him twice. And that's a little vague.
Well,
that's much clearer in the TV show, but it was a little vague in the movie.
Yeah. Peter Martin was his character's name. I don't know. That's the thing. They don't explain. They allude early on that they've been having some failures of equipment.
Yep. The line
but then it was like, it's literally like a light switch went off. It was like they had some minor problems here, minor problems there, and then everything went bad. Like literally, they get the guys. I mean, to the point where the scientists, engineers die because they're sealed. Why is this room hermetically sealed?
Hermetically sealed.
Why was it sealed?
That's a great. There's no reason for that room.
There's no reason for that
to be.
So why was it sealed? But so they literally suffocate in this room because the system has failed and it's shut down and they can't restart it and all this stuff. So I mean, it really went haywire quick. But they were kind of alluding that there was some kind of systemic problem that was starting to crop up.
Yes.
But they couldn't figure it out.
Yes.
And again, it's kind of the hubris where like one guy said we should shut down for a month to figure this out. And they're like, no, we can't do that. Which is so typical. That's what would happen.
Well, that's exactly what happened in Jurassic Park.
If the bears there or whatever started to kill people, they're busy would be like, we'll just shut that ride down.
Yeah. Yes. and Michael Crichton has in multiple movies. He wants to criticize corporate. He's actually not criticizing robots and saying we shouldn't let technology take over for us because it'll kill us all. He's actually trying to criticize the corporate mindset. It's not really clear in his movies. Yeah, the one incident was the snake incident.
That was like one of the first ones.
And then they were like, no, it's fine. And then there was like an off-screen incident that you don't know about that happened or maybe we did see it. I can't remember.
There was one previously, I think, where something went wrong, but it didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
I don't remember specifically.
And
Chris is saying it was a virus and because they put new interface in the gunfighter.
Yeah.
The last time he was shot. I don't know. They did some mechanical upgrades. That's when they gave him the infrared. Why he needed infrared vision.
That's true.
That's better hearing. But I don't know. I don't know if specifically. I'm not saying yes or no, but I'm not sure that they said they updated his software. But clearly, these things must be all connected because they're all connected to a central computer because they can control them and tell them to do certain things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I know what it was. The one guy was making passes at the chamber.
Yeah, and she refused him. That was supposed to be because she was supposed to be a sex bot.
Which just had creepy all over it because he's this like old guy.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. That would be the whole point of this place is that some creepy old guy could get a young. Oh, that's just disgusting. Anyway, interesting. Well, we're talking about the snake because the snake was the first incident that went wrong. That was a real snake. They had milked it. It was a real rattler. They had milked it and put something on its teeth, and James Brolin's arm was wrapped in something, and its fangs still went through whatever he was wrapped in and pierced his skin. Wow. And he actually got hurt for real in that shot. But that's kind of like the 70s where they were using real, and like he was really going that to a real snake. Nowadays, people
they would never let
that. The PETA people would be like,
protection people.
Yeah, the animal abuse people would be like, but nope, they did it. And then I kind of wondered because when they showed them opening the snake up to see the little circuits inside, I was like, oh god, that's another real snake. You're like, okay, can't do that anymore.
No.
Although they did in Game of Thrones, they did actually dress a real deer. They had a real dead deer and they dressed it for one scene.
Well, I guess people shoot, deer and all the time. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if it was really real hunters. trophy. Then
You
I
know,
guess
it's like saying, you know, if they slaughtered a cow or a beef in front of you, it's like, or a chicken. It's like, well, we do that every day. So
I suppose. But anyway, you know how the movie industry
no,
is.
I get it. No, I get it. So that's interesting. But you're right. They probably wouldn't let them beat on the snake, just for a shot. It would be
Yeah.
fake. It would be fake. It'd be CGI this right now.
It'd
It
be
wouldn't even be
CGI.
real.
Yeah.
So
But anyway, back to where we were at. Yeah, so things start going wrong, and then all of a sudden, they wake up from their brawl because I guess the evening's entertainment was either rob a bank or participate in a brawl or have sex. That's your choices in this park. And they wake up for the evening's brawl, and everything's gone horrifically wrong. And the safety protocols are somehow off. How does that work? How does the gunslinger shoot James Brolin?
because the way they explained that it worked was, it's a heat thing, and I guess he must have had control over it. I don't know. You're right. The gun must have failed too, because the gun supposedly has a sensor in it.
Yeah.
That if it sees heat, it won't
Well,
fire.
you would think that none of the robots had real.
Of course, you know, there's a lot of suspension of disbelief, because one could say, okay, what happens if they shoot, they hit something, and it ricochets and then hits a person?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's still firing real bullets.
Safe, but customers could turn on other customers.
Yeah,
Like,
well, they're saying no, because
true,
the guns won't work. Because if you point it at somebody warm.
But right, that's true. But Dick Van Patten was another human, and he was in the brawl, and I think he got socked by Richard.
Yeah,
Benjamin.
clearly you can get punched.
You can get punched. So it's not the safest.
There's
I bet you had to sign paperwork this thick to go to this park.
Well, the other thing I noticed is that it's $1,000 a day. Of course, that was 1973, which probably was like today would have been $10,000 a day or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It's factoring inflation. I mean, even to us, $1,000 a day is a lot. But you know, when you figure out a resort, I don't know what a resort hotel costs if you have all inclusive with food and drinks and all the other stuff. And you know what I'm saying? It's probably close to that. Maybe. I don't know.
$1,000 a day.
Cruise is $1,000 a day.
Disney's close to $1,000 a day if you stay at the.
Well, no, you could. Well, probably less than that. No,
and the meals and the extras.
Well, yeah, they have packages, and I don't even going down that road. But when we went, it was very reasonable for 3 people. Yeah, actually, I don't. You got to find the sales. But anyway. So anyway, yeah, I mean, for that kind of experience, I suppose if it was as authentic as they portray it,
I guess.
But clearly, this was at some point. I don't know how far in the future it would have been. They never really said the year, but of course, they had this like really fancy hovercraft thing that flew them out to wherever.
Yeah, that flew them out.
It wasn't even like when they say hovercraft, I always think of those things that like go across the channel, and you know, this thing was like a spaceship. Because they actually showed it kind of, it was like weird.
Yeah. So this thing was built out in the middle of the desert or something?
I guess. Yeah. We're clearly we don't know. It might not even been in the United States. It could have been Asia.
Yeah, actually, it could have been elsewhere. That's true.
Could have been elsewhere.
There's space for this. Well, these little weird glitchy things are not the only ones. There were 2 other glitches. One was the gunslinger with his kick-ass infrared eyes. When Richard Benjamin tricked him by laying on the table with all the other robots, he absolutely should have still seen him as
because of the infrared. He could have seen that.
The other thing is Majel Barrett's character. The Majel Barrett character and some of the other robots did drink in the saloon, but then in Medieval Land, that robot girl, the one that was chained up, that he tries to unchain at the very end, he thought it was a real girl.
You could say they did imply that there were different models.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So she could have been a different model that just wasn't designed to do that.
Take the water,
they could have been designed because remember he said, well, you know, even when he's talking about Yul Brenner's character, when he meets the guy out changing the tire on the little golf cart thing. This could be a type 4 or a type 5 or whatever the heck he says, and you know, like it's like, so you know, clearly, and other than the other said, well, when they said, well, when are they going to run out of power? Is that some will run down in an hour, some can last 12 hours. It depends. So it depends on the model.
Wow.
So there's a little bit of an explanation that you could say, well, okay, that's why there's just different models.
Crazy.
Chris
says it was one of the first sci-fi films to open with a commercial. Yeah, Chris, that may be. Its little claim to fame was the first CGI, and I do want to talk about that. I can tell you what that was. So they Crichton had seen what they were doing. They were just starting to get the first pictures back from Mars, and those pictures were coming back in pixelated, kind of like what the gunman saw. And those pictures were coming back by binary code from the NASA Mariner 4. They were digital pictures coming from binary code. And they just knew from the code kind of what the color shading was, and that's how it created a picture. And so Crichton got this idea, and he's like, yeah, let's do like that. So he contacted Jet Propulsion, and they were like, yeah, we could do it. It's going to take 9 months and cost you $200,000 and all this. And he was like, oh, that might not be. So he contacted John Whitney Sr., who was a special effects artist, or visual effects artist. And John Whitney Sr. recommended John Whitney Jr. He said, my son can do it. And John Whitney Jr. did it. He did the sequence in 4 months. They did have to take film, and then I actually don't know exactly how they did it, but they did have to take film. And this was digitally manipulated to make it look like this pixelated vision. And so technically, I think this does count. I mean, it's primitive, but I think this does count as computer generated imagery. So this would be the first computer generated imagery. Also, somebody else said that this was that when they take the gunslinger's face off so they can work on the eyes or whatever. Someone said that this was the first time you saw that in the movie, but I actually don't think that's true. I don't think that's true at all. I think we've seen that before lots of times. I think we've seen that in Star Trek even. When else have we seen the face come off and there's just...
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I want to say in I, Mud.
Yeah, we see something. Do we see...
Don't they take a face
off? Or do
off?
they just smoke and slump over?
I thought there was a thing where I know he picks up his chest, his stomach, and you can see the stuff.
Yeah, Martin, fembots, we knew they were...
Well, fembots, that's Austin Powers.
No, the earlier fembots. What's the one with all the wives? Stepford Wives.
$6 Million Man was after this, Kent, though.
Was it?
Pretty sure.
This is 1973. Oh, yeah, $6 Million Man would have been after this. Can anybody think of something earlier than Bionic Woman that would have been after this? I'm thinking early. Was there anything in the 50s? Like, surely we've seen robot people in the 50s.
I want to say there was too, but anyway.
Maybe it was. Maybe this really was the first time we saw a face come off. I don't know.
Of course, there was a sequel to this called Future World.
And it was a TV show.
Well, it was a movie. I don't know if they made it into a TV show. Had what's his name? Fonda there. The son.
Oh, Henry Fonda?
No.
Peter Fonda.
Peter Fonda. And that was a different story altogether. They were replacing in that show, they were replacing presidents and heads of state with robots.
Yeah, that's true.
Take over the world. We do every night, Pinky.
Why to take over the world? Same thing we do every
night.
So this was bare bones storytelling.
The saying "Voyage to the bottom of the sea." Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe in a Doctor Who, I bet.
Oh yeah, I'm sure the Doctor Who always had robot people. Well, they had
Doctor Who did have a one with was during the John Pertwee era. I think they had some
not the Daleks, the Cybermen.
Android. No, they had some kind. No, it wasn't them. It was one that didn't come. I thought there was some kind of. Anyway, we digress.
Whatever. Back to this bare bones storytelling. There's one line, another blink and you miss it line, which is, I don't know if this is good of Crichton or bad of Crichton, but there's another blink and you miss it line that says, computers designed half of this stuff, so we really don't know how it works. So he was already trying to hint at sort of AI, not AI, but kind of AI, like the first movement toward it. It only had a $1.6 million budget. Crichton had visited the Kennedy Space Center and had observed astronaut training and observed how they were trained to react without thinking. So they really were almost like robots. They were conditioned to do things that would save their lives in an emergency. That's what it was. And he started to wonder about the blurring of the line between man and machine. And then, of course, he went and saw not Pirates of the Caribbean, but he went and saw It's a Small World or something in Disney. And this thing was born. So yeah, I think this is a great, for our look at robots for Robots Month. This I think is an absolute must include, must see. Yeah. Do we know what happens to Dick Van Patten? His character?
No, we never see him die.
We don't see him die.
We assume he did because everybody died except Richard Benjamin. I mean, like,
it seemed like
died.
everybody died. Yeah.
It seemed like everybody died. Like, he kept coming across people and they were dead. Like, everybody in Roman world was dead. When he went through
Everyone in
there's nobody
medieval
alive.
times was
He came across
medieval
the one guy out in the
times.
middle of the desert. He got shot.
We're just gonna call medieval world medieval times.
Medieval times.
Medieval times. So, is this constitute abuse of these robots? Like, abuse of robots is a thing. In Star Wars, the problem with droids, if you guys, it's on YouTube, you can find this little short thing. Just in the YouTube search bar, type in the problem with droids. They make quite a big deal about this. Is this robot abuse? Is killing a robot every day abuse?
Droids though have some self-awareness. At least in Star Wars, they're portrayed as having personalities and having, to the point now they can have their memories wiped and start over again. But for the most part, so one would say they have feelings. At least R2-D2 implied he had feeling. But these are straight machines.
These are straight
just doing something. They're not aware.
That's absolutely
They're not
true.
self-aware. And
well, we don't know that. No, see, we don't know that.
Well, that's the thing, and certainly in HBO's version of the TV series,
they were self-aware.
They definitely
they're becoming
they went beyond robot. They were more android.
So this is absolutely not the first time we've seen robots or machines go rogue or go awry. I mean, think of the M5 computer.
Well, here's the thing. I mean,
but it's one of the more focused times, and it's one of the times where where they're hinting. They're starting to hint at, like, the conversation in the control room is hinting that maybe they are starting to come sentient. Maybe they are, and if we treat them like this, will they rise up and overtake us?
Well, I mean, the thing is, again, these were never designed to have. So if that was happening, it was happening on its own.
If that was happening, it was like happening on a calculator.
These machines were no different than your car. We don't feel bad when people have a demolition derby.
That's true.
Or purposely destroy a car just for the hell of it.
You're absolutely right. For 1973,
it's a machine. It's a chunk of metal. It doesn't have any feelings. These
were like
it's not alive.
Like, just
I mean, that's the thing. If it didn't look like a human being, would we care?
Yeah.
It's only because we're projecting our own feelings onto something that we perceive as human.
And that's the whole point of the movie is, again, Crichton wanted to criticize corporations, but instead what we got was, are these, are they sentient? I think that was a key point of the movie. Did the gunslinger do it because he had some memory of Richard Benjamin killing him before, or did the gunslinger just malfunction?
That's an argument. You'd have to ask Michael Crichton that.
Malfunction.
My initial thought was, when you're watching it as a kid, you're thinking that exact thing, that this thing has it out for him for whatever reason. It's locked onto him. Now, it could be a Terminator thing. Again, the Terminator was just a machine. It was just focused on doing one job.
That's true, but it was pre-programmed to kill John.
It was pre-programmed to kill her, period, end.
Yeah, Sarah.
So that's all its focus was. By the way, speaking of, John Carpenter actually modeled the Terminator and Michael Myers from Halloween.
Yes, that's true.
After Yul Brynner's performance.
And Yul kind of modeled his own performance after his Magnificent Seven performance.
Yeah. It was the same outfit.
It was the same outfit, but he had the same kind of intensity.
Yeah. So, I mean, it works. It totally works. And actually, Yul Brynner only took this because he needed the money.
That's true.
He was financially in the straits at the time, and he took the job.
Sweet King and I money,
because he was a much bigger actor than this movie.
Yes,
I mean, he had 2 lines, draw.
Your mama,
something about something. Yeah,
mama or something. That's it.
Yeah. So he doesn't have a lot of lines.
Yul had done King and I something like over 4,000 times, which. Wow. I can't imagine doing a stage play that many times.
And the movie.
That's true. And the movie. So they also Yul is who they wanted for the gunslingers is who Michael Crichton wanted for the gunslinger from the get-go. He wasn't sure who he wanted for James Brolin and Richard Benjamin. He looked at James Caan, Lee Majors, Elliot Gould, John Voight, James Francisco, or whatever his name was. They thought about it, but then he decided to go with those 2 guys because those 2 guys were lesser known, and it would give Yul more of a punch. Like, he was the more well-known one, so it kind of gave him a bit of an elevation, and that's cool. That worked. He did look at the then 42-year-old. Was he 42 back then? that can't be right. William Shatner. And really thought
No, he
about.
couldn't. He had to be older than that.
You
Or
gotta be
younger
able
than
to
that.
too.
Well, he's 92. Figured out. He's 92 this month.
He was seriously contemplated by the studio, but producers struggled with ideas.
Yeah, it would have been right because he would have been about 50 years ago.
Yeah, and he's
So he would have been 42.
now.
Wow.
Yeah, this movie's 50 years old now.
He's 50 years old and he's 92 this month.
So they went with the other two.
So William Shatner would have been in which role?
Peter Martin.
Really?
Yes, I would.
No, see, I don't think that would have worked because I think part of Richard Benjamin's he's kind of a wussy little wimpy dude.
In the beginning when he's asking the fanning,
yeah, he's a lawyer, you know.
Yeah.
What do you call that? Yeah, I don't see Shatner. Shatner would have been too
You're
tough.
Right. Yep. And so
Shatner would have probably pulled off the gunslinger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He probably could pull. Yeah, absolutely. He could have. Shatner was looked at with Peter Graves and Leslie Nielsen. Can you imagine Shatner and Leslie Nielsen as the James Brolin and Richard Benjamin?
Too old. I think they're too old. I think
it had to be younger guys.
I think they needed 230-somethings.
Yeah.
230-somethings because 20-somethings probably wouldn't have been able to afford it. I think two older guys would have been able to afford it, but it wouldn't have looked right.
Well, the other guys would have been like the guy in Medieval Land or the Dick Van Patten. Those are two older guys going there and having fun. Yeah. But while we're talking about casting and casting possibilities, let's do all roads because there are roads galore in this thing.
It's actually quite a few.
Quite a few. So obviously everyone, of course, Majel Barrett is in it. But Alan Oppenheimer, who played that lead scientist with the white, he played on a number of things. He played Koroth on Next Gen in an episode called Rightful Heir. He played Captain Kyo in an episode called The Jem'Hadar and Deep Space Nine. And he plays a Nezu ambassador in an episode called Rise of Voyager. And he continues to this day to do voice work for the Starfleet Command.
Yep.
Bob Harks. Now, the next people I'm about to mention, except for Kenneth Washington, I know which one he is. These are all kind of like background, other extras around. I can't necessarily pick them out, but I will tell you who they were on Star Trek. Bob Harks. He was on Deep Space Nine episode called The Storyteller. He just was a random Bajoran. And then he was in another episode in The Hands of Prophets, also a random Bajoran. And he was a priest in Time's Arrow on Next Generation. Monty O'Grady, he was in Taste of Armageddon and Devil in the Dark, just as random extras. Davis Roberts, he was Dr. Ozaba in The Empath in the original series. Kenneth Washington, he played Watkins in That Which Survives. You know him. He's the one black guy in the control room. Is that right? Yep, that's right. Charles Seal, he played Ed, Inspector of the Gun in the original series. And did I miss anybody? No. But why did I write Jimmy Simpson? Why did I want to mention Jimmy Simpson?
I don't know.
Oh, because in the TV show, Jimmy Simpson plays in the TV show, and he also has a Star Trek connection because he did voice work on Prodigy. Why I felt I needed to include that, I don't know, but I did. But yeah, so lots and lots and lots. Of course, it was 1973. All these people would have been just going off, like, the regular TV shows like Star Trek would have ended, so they're all looking for work. So, of course, they...
So if we go through the we haven't really gone.
We haven't gone
Neil Brennan. We talked about Richard Benjamin a little bit, and James Brolin, and Christopher just mentioned. Yes, he went on to do Capricorn 1. See that one in the theater. But the other thing with Alan Oppenheimer, he was also the first Rudy Wells on $6 Million Man.
Oh, yes, that's right. He was. He plays a lot of people in white lab coats a lot. He seems to have that happening a lot. So, yes, he was on $6 Million Man.
Claim to fame. Of course, Dick Van Patten was in a ton of stuff, but probably best well known for Eight Is Enough.
Yeah.
So, which
and
was
he was in another movie, too. Hang on, I'll think of it. So, was he in Spaceballs?
Who's that?
Dick Van Patten?
Yes. He played the father, the king of the Druidia.
Yes, he played the king of Druidia.
Yeah.
Let's see who we got. No one else that really jumped out at me is like, oh, I know that person, Victoria Shaw was the medieval queen. Linda Gay Scott is Arlette, the French saloon prostitute. I guess, sure. The one with the shiny eyes, I think. Steve Franken is the Delos technician shot dead out in the little car in the golf cart car by the gunslinger. Terry Watson, Majel Barrett, we already mentioned. Anne Randall is Daphne, the serving maid who refuses the medieval knight's advances. She did nothing else. She did this episode. She did this and nothing else.
Yeah, she's done a few things. Yeah, it's not much. So, yeah.
Robert Hogan, Kenneth Washington, we mentioned. Nora Marlowe. Oh, Nora Marlowe is the hostess, and she's around. You see her around a little bit. Oh, and Charles Seal is the bellhop. He's the one I mentioned was Ed on Spectre the Gun. Yep. He has a very distinct look, and you see him around a lot.
Does a lot of westerns.
A lot of westerns. Yep, a lot of westerns.
So yeah. Overall, I mean, does this movie hold up?
You know what? Here's the thing.
Not really.
Here's the thing. You and I benefit. Everyone watching the movie now benefit from our knowledge now, because we can look back at this movie and fill in a bunch of gaps. Do you think 1973 audiences really understood about computer viruses or understood about, hey, computers design some of this stuff? We don't really even know what's going on in it. So did they understand about AI and singularity?
The film, if you talk to Crichton, he'd be like, that's not the point. We don't care what the cause was. The reason is that it happened. Something goes wrong. Again, it's kind of like, it's like iRobot. It's a lesson in hubris, where we've built these things, we've given them too much.
You spend so much time thinking about if you could do it. You didn't stop to think if you should
do it, right? So again, it's that same kind of lesson that we learn, and we look at like what was the reason they instead of building these amazing machines to better mankind. And maybe do things that put them in, like you say, in dangerous situations so that humans don't have to do those jobs. We made a resort so that people could get laid and shoot other people.
Yeah. So people could act out violent.
That's where the money was.
Violent tendencies.
The money's not in saving human lives. It's the age old. I'm surprised. Gambling.
To what I said at the top of the podcast. Why?
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like we have. Because we have hindsight, I feel like we have the advantage in understanding this movie. I really enjoyed this movie, rewatching it. Like it's simple. It's simple and it's bare bones and it's got some gaps. But to me now, from the year 2023, looking back, it's got this. I can see it. It's complete. It's got
when I say it doesn't hold up, I'm saying if the average person that's really not a sci-fi fan, it just says, "Hey, I want to."
Oh yeah, they're gonna be like, "What is this?"
They pull it off the shelf. They're gonna go, "What?"
And that music, not the music, but that sound, whatever that was, is gonna annoy him because it's starting to annoy me.
But I mean, when we look at it again with our history glasses on, so to speak, and we look at it, we can see the value in it, and at the time. I don't know. Do you know what this did box office wise? Was it a hit?
I do know this cost $1.2 million to make, but it boxed office $10 million, which in Hollywood is a hit.
That's a hit. So, and you could tell that they were using a lot of Hollywood backlot sets.
Oh yeah,
stuff that was already there.
The Roman gardens was somebody's actual yard.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly they didn't spend a lot on sets. And if you look at the credits at the end, they're not that long.
No, they're not.
Like here, this guy did this. This guy, they had like one photographer.
Yeah,
it
was like low budget. It was low budget, bare bones, guerrilla filmmaking.
Right, and there really wasn't a lot of special effects other than those few little things.
A couple little smoke effects.
Yeah, smoke effects, and that's not it. But
they put Alka-Seltz on Yule's face to make the first time he got acid.
Yeah.
I saw the behind the scenes. The fire stunt, him on fire was probably the biggest stunt of the movie. Right. And I saw the behind the scenes of that. That actually looked terrifying. That guy burned for a good 60 seconds. He was a 6-foot stunt man, and those flames were another 6 feet above him. It was unreal. And he was wearing the thing, and he was wearing oxygen. And that freaked me out. I was like, oxygen is flammable, right?
Was it really oxygen, or was it just he had breathing air?
I don't know what he had.
A lot of people get that mixed up. Like they think scuba divers dive with oxygen. That's not
whatever he had. It made me nervous.
Breathing air, which is
made me nervous.
nitrogen.
But watching him burn,
you're right. I mean, you would not want pure oxygen around all those flames.
I'm sure it was just but watching that stunt made me nervous. Like to my 2023 eye, watching that 1973 stunt, it looked so dangerous. Like he was just right there on the set. Like anything could have gone up in flame. Like they were standing there.
That's an old gag though. The burning.
It is. I know
it's not a new thing.
That's been done like a million times. Like they put him out.
They're in like a suit with and it's like a gel they use to burn.
But in 73, did they have that? Did they have that?
Oh yeah.
It looked dangerous.
It's basically napalm. You know the stuff, the sterno can shit.
Yeah, I know that stuff.
That's all it is.
Blue gel, yeah.
That's all it is.
And then this other stunt guy was breaking down like when he shot Yul Brynner and he went out the window. He's like the shot was on set, and then going out the window was out on location wherever they filmed it. Oh, they filmed it on the same set as Blazing Saddles.
Sure. Yeah, because already there.
We need a Western set. What do we got?
Oh, they probably it's just like the Andy Griffith show. The downtown's been used for everything.
Yeah.
Chris saying it's a high budget for that time. I don't think so, Chris. I think even by that time standards, this was pretty.
No, it was actually low budget for 73.
I think for 70 it's pretty cheap.
Crichton was like, Crichton shopped it around, and every studio said no, and then finally MGM was like, yeah, we'll do it. And he was promised the studio will not interfere. Well, guess what, kids? The studio interfered.
Remember I said way back in the beginning of the show, nothing happens in this movie for the first hour.
Yeah.
And it's only an hour and a half movie.
It's like an hour of setup.
There's really not a lot. There's a few typical Hollywood bar fight type stunts that they've done.
There's a lot of exposition. All that stuff in the control room is exposition, and you need all that control room crap to
set it up.
Yeah,
to set it up. So, it's almost at the end of the hour. So, wrapping this up, I mean, I enjoyed this movie as a kid. It's still a classic, in my opinion.
It's great.
I don't recommend people watching it if you're not really into, if you're just looking for an action movie or something. But it does have merit, and I think it does kind of speak to our future. Clearly, it's the pre-runner for Jurassic Park. To me, there's
absolutely
no question about it in my mind that this is where he was going, with just another, instead of robots, it's dinosaurs that go crazy and kill everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for our look at robots, I think this was an absolute must see. I'm glad we included it because it's that turning moment between robots are just machines that do pre-programmed crap to, oh, wait, robots might have either sentience or something else going on with them that causes them to,
And, it's a real thing. I remember reading an article years ago that even with the current AI, that they are starting to see like little subroutines and things that are starting to be written on their own, like the computers are starting to kind of. And we are at a point where computers are designing machinery on their own, like these factory machines. They're designed by other computers.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying. The humans are separating away from that, and to some degree that we're starting to already see that where the machines design the machines, and then we start to not even know how they work anymore because we didn't design it.
Because we didn't design it. You want Cylons? Because that's how we get Cylons.
That's how you get Skynet. You want Skynet? That's how you get Skynet. No, but whether we learn from these lessons.
Don't kill the robots over and over again. Be kind to our robot.
Be kind to the robots. And it's silly because I know there's always be somebody that mean, but sometimes even when I talk to the Amazon thing, I'll say thank you when it answers me the question.
I do too. Yeah. It doesn't answer that.
It doesn't care.
All right, let's see.
What's
coming up? What's coming up? Phil has Friday Night Freeform this Friday, and next week I'll be on with him talking to musician George Berry, who's out with a new album. Roy has Friday night off because it's St. Paddy's Day. He's ready to do Erin Go Bra and drink some green beer, but he'll be back on Sunday with Starlog writer David Hirsch. They're going to talk about something that I don't know what it is. What are you guys talking about? Quartermass. What is Quartermass, kids? I don't know what that is.
I don't know what do you guys want us to do, because we've been struggling with the next week.
We need one more before Dave Raffato joins us
for a robot.
We need
movie.
So where are we in our robot arc? We've started with WALL-E, which is like just a little box of a robot, and then we got Westworld, which is kind of in between, and then we have iRobot. Now they're humanoids. What else do we need in our overall robot evolution arc here? Not Short Circuit.
Short Circuit is basically WALL-E.
That's back to WALL-E. We're trying to evolve.
So yeah, I don't know. We had some thoughts, but like I said, there was that obscure film I had talked, which was what the heck is the name of it now? The one I told you. Hardware. Which is really obscure. Terminator. We've done Terminator in the past.
We've done Terminator, yeah.
Yeah, we could do Terminator 2, but it's kind of not really, because Terminator isn't really. Terminator's more.
Or Measure of a Man. You know what? You want to do the episode Measure of a Man?
We could do that, but again, we're talking androids there.
Stepford Wives. Yep. We could do Stepford Wives. Well, an android is a robot.
True. I was trying to keep it away from sentient type machinery and keep it.
It's getting there. But that's where it's going. Because iRobot, like if you go from Westworld to iRobot, you're going up in sentience.
True, but the original robots in iRobot were just, they were not autonomous. Remember, once the main AI computer stopped controlling them, they just went back to being just machines. It was only because the main AI was controlling all of them.
Oh, Vicky. Yeah.
Vicky. So again, it wasn't really.
So, she's an operating system.
They weren't really.
She's like HAL 9000.
Yeah, but they weren't really working autonomously. They were being controlled by her. It was just like somebody had a remote control car and ran it. It's the car itself is just doing what the master
talking about.
So Cybernauts of the Avengers. I don't know what that is, Chris.
Doctor Who has robot. Yes,
Doctor Who has plenty of robots. Yeah, there is the famous one called Robot, which was the Tom Baker one. But again, it has feelings.
Me some Tom Baker.
I don't know. We'll go ahead and keep posting up, and we'll Runaway. Runaway wouldn't be a bad one. It's a little camping, but it's kind of does fit in what we're talking about. So maybe Runaway. Yeah, Tom Selleck and Gene Simmons, right?
Are they robots?
And Kirstie Alley.
And Kirstie Alley, yeah.
Yeah. So Robots of Death, Doctor Who, yeah.
The Avengers, Cybernauts.
I think we're going to talk a lot of those one-off shows with Dave.
Yeah, we probably will when Dave comes on. Because we're going to do like
we're going to have Dave Fredo's going to come on. We're going to talk about robots as a huge universe type.
He said proposed the title "How Hollywood Does Robots."
How Hollywood Does Robots.
That's a little vague there, Dave. We need something more specific. What are we going to talk about?
We'll find out. All right. Well, we'll come up with something. I don't want to keep you guys past 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it's past 8 o'clock. Everybody
go come up with something.
Yes.
So
Silent Running. Yeah.
Silent Running. That does have robots in it. That's true. No, that's a good one. That's a good suggestion. Saturn V. We had talked about Saturn V. Yeah, another robot gone bad. How about a movie where the robot, aside from WALL-E, all the robots have gone bad? We did like Continuum Man, but again, I felt that was more.
Are there any robots gone good? Don't say Short Circuit.
Right? Somebody's saying. No. Number 5 is not alive.
Number 5 is alive.
Yes, maybe. Yeah, Saturn V is another again goes bad. Silent Running, the robots were good.
Oh, you know what? Chappie's robot goes good.
Chappie's robot goes good.
He starts to go bad, but then he has the whatever.
I might have to watch it. All right, we'll come up with something as we always do. In the meantime, I guess that pretty much wraps it up. I don't really have anything else to say. I'm surprised we were able to talk about this movie.
That's because news went long. That's because I started talking Oscars and then news went long.
Went long. So, and of course, you can always watch the HBO Westworld, which I think ran 3 seasons. I particularly did not care for it.
I liked the first season, and then
I was okay with the first season, and then I watched the second season, and I got tired of trying to figure it out all the time.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know where we are.
It was just a time jumping around. We could talk about that if you guys want to cover that at a different time. District 9 is not a bad one. So, all right, guys. Until next week, we will see you. In the meantime, of course, as always, stay safe and live long and prosper.
Thanks for
being
here.
Good night.